Morning, everyone. Welcome. My name is Menachem Creditor. It's my honor to serve as scholar in residence and rabbi for UJA Federation of New York. We bring you Torah and music, blessing, and community every weekday. We've been doing so since March 18th, 2020. Today it is Tuesday, October 29th, 2024. That's more than 4.5 years of Torah every single day, of finding each other across the world, of learning Torah and each other's names, of coming to remember what it is to be human over and over and over again, with good souls like Penny and Iris, Adrian, and Arlene. Good morning, everyone. It's really good to see you. Hope that you are safe and well. Linda and Siona, Sandy and Jonathan, Rosa and Patricia, Boker Tov friends. I hope you are doing great. Kim and Debbie, Rose, Anna and Linda, Cecile, welcome everybody. Jack, Dale, it's good to see you. It is, let's see, broadcast 1163. It is day 389 of the war. Carl and Natalia, Debbie, good to see you. Hi, Tara. Nice to see you. Not as much fun as when we were sitting next to each other, but good now. Stan, so good to see you. So appreciate hearing from you, how everything is going. Ron, good to see you. Adrian, hand surgery is tomorrow. May your hand be strengthened and healed, and may the hands of the surgeons be guided, swift, and skilled. Can't wait to hear that things went well. Michelle, it's good to see you. Arlene, hi. Hi, Barry. Minna, welcome. Hi, Barbara. All right, let's take a breath, everybody. Sing a blessing. Learn some Torah. All right, friends. As always, a lot going on. It is 1 week from Election Day in the United States, and the most important thing I'm going to say today is this. Please make sure that you have a plan for voting if you haven't already. It is urgently important, as Judaism has always taught, to seek the welfare of the government, to seek the welfare of society, because it protects neighbors. It creates the possibilities of a tomorrow. It is not appropriate for anyone to quote Torah and say, this is the kind of ideas you must have. But it is absolutely appropriate for us to know that tradition never leaves a Jewish person or anyone who looks to Judaism for guidance off the hook. Not sure what the right phrase should be there, but everyone is obligated to do their part in building society. So friends, please make a plan, show up. If you already voted like Jack did, like I did, great. If not, make your plan. It's 1 week from today. There is everything to say about this week's Parsha. Hi, Beth. Nice to see you. Parshat Noach, for most people, is its own story. But if you look closely at the beginning of the Torah, the Parsha that begins it all, Breshit, It is really important for us to see the way that the chaos of the flood has everything to do with Parshat Breshit. In Breshit, first of all, God creates through words. We talked about that. We talked about that yesterday. But what I want to point to right now is actually the strangeness of what God does and doesn't create, at least according to the verses. God says, Yehi or, let there be light. And then the next thing is, let there be space between. Let the waters divide so that the land could appear. How important it is for us to know what that indicates was created and it doesn't say. It never in the Torah says that God creates water. Ever think about that? What does God do with the water? God divides the water to the upper and lower, that's day 2. And then God divides the waters so that the earth can appear. That's day 3. How fascinating it is to think about what God does, dividing things, but not creating water. Why? We don't really know the why. In many ancient traditions, it is important for us to know that the water is another god. In Akkadian and Ugaritic and Sumerian, that other god is named Tiamat, the primordial water goddess. And in fact, in those traditions, the emerging king god, the Zeus, or, there are a lot of other names and other traditions for the king god, but in Akkadian and Ugaritic, it is Marduk. And Marduk slices Tiamat, the primordial water goddess, and divides her body, upper and lower. Now we have, a similar tradition in terms of the dividing of that water. But what is really important is that in the story of creation, God puts the water above and keeps the water below, plugging up the heavens and the fountains of the deep, literally plugging, stopping it up. And this is true in the ancient perspective because the sky, as named in the Torah, has a Hebrew name, Shamayim, which is actually a cognate of 2 words. Sham, Mayim. There is water. Probably because when we look up at the sky on a clear day, we see blue. Now it happens to be that the blue is a reflection of the below. It's amazing how the symmetry of this world points back toward itself, making us think about the connectivity of so many things. But remember, the water is held up above and the water is held down below. And the primordial water goddess, we would consider Tehom Rabbah, the depth. Chaos held at bay. And that's true because here we are in Parshat Noach. And the flood begins, of course, with God's rage and disappointment at human cruelty. But then God unplugs the heavens and the fountains of the deep, and the waters rush back. And we think about the Noach flood as water, as rain, but actually, even though the Torah does describe there being rain, the waters collapse. It is a reversal of creation. And that indicates so much when we hold on to last week's creation narrative and this week's flood story. Because God's intention becomes clear. I know that sounds a little bit brazen to say. We don't really know the mind of God, and claiming to is itself not just heretical, but arrogant. But how powerful for us to think about what it is to be connected to the One, capital O, or capital Aleph for Echad, the One. There's no capitals in Hebrew. There's a little bit of rabbi humor there. To be connected to the One whose intention was to take chaos, to take the swirling void and organize it. You, upper waters, stay up there. Low waters, stay there. Go side to side. Let there be something else. Make space for the possibilities of life. because only with that process, with chaos turned into order, can life itself emerge, and can society emerge. There's something that we must learn from this progress, from this series of ideas and verses from the original biblical stories, so that we can continue being partners in creation. The world is far from complete. What's our job, and how could we possibly know what to do? Well, sometimes the discrete actions are just not knowable. We will do our best with what we know. But it is also important for us to remember that chaos is not the trajectory of creation. And the Torah's values push in the order of the universe, push in that direction, push us to continue seeing the space that is necessary in the world so that I don't occupy too much space. I am not all. I am not everything. Rose, I'm sorry to have confused you, but in fact, these stories are confusing. The beginning of the Torah is full of chaos. In fact, before God created, it says everything was tohu vavohu, chaos and disorder, void and chaos. God looks at that and says, no, that's not good enough. That's not what I want for my world. It's not what I want for every living creature, nor the images of me that will one day walk this earth. Our job, friends, in these moments that can feel very chaotic, is to be agents of order, is try to make things better, maybe a little bit more defined. In fact, there's a secret here. The Torah itself begins with the word Breshit, in the beginning. Now, isn't it interesting that the Torah does not begin with the letter Aleph, the original letter, where everything could begin? Aleph is just everything, open in all directions, contains it all. It's the primordial Aleph. But the Torah begins with Bet. The Torah begins with Bet because Bet means two. We live in a world where there are distinctions between one thing and the next, between the upper waters and the lower, between one section of water and the other, so that there can be space to grow, to live, to build, and to be a good neighbor. Because after all, in a world of Aleph, there would literally be no difference between you and me. In a world of delineation, I have enough space, and if I can be mindful enough, channel that divine desire for awareness, I'll see you. And if I can be appropriate to love my neighbor as myself, but not think that my neighbor is myself, I'll be able to see the differences between you and me, and maybe be able to think about what you need, which is potentially different from what I need, even different from what I might think you need. I should be aware enough to notice the space between the waters, the space between us, and in fact, God's desire for there to be order is what the world truly needs more than ever before. Because if I acknowledge your selfhood, who you are, as distinct from who I am, I'd never hurt you. Never. Never. And you'd never hurt me. It is only in a world where I think my identity, my ideas, must be yours, and therefore I will attack, because my truth is more important than your life. It's only in a world like that that violence happens. And I would bless us to think hard about this. You and I are in a truly tremulous moment, where just as the story of Noach, not exactly, but reminiscent of it, just like those waters held at bay, were undone, and the world collapsed. The waters combined, and the ark wasn't so much a boat as it was a submarine. Here we are. Just as Adrian, you just said, here we are. What do we do to help maintain order and to build a world where we do not hurt each other, where we are kind, we acknowledge, we respect, we see the differences, and we love who the other is. We learn to love something that is not me. God was so loving, is so loving, to give us this opportunity. It's up to us to figure out what to do with it. And in this moment, friends, in this moment, there are so many ways in which to spell this out in discrete terms. So I want to suggest, number one, take your part in building the order of this world. Make sure that you have a plan between now and next week to vote. You don't have to wait till the last day. In most parts of the United States, early voting began a few days ago, and there are early voting sites. If you have any questions, go to vote.org. You'll get the help you need, the guidance you need. But don't wait, make a plan. That's part of what it is to live in an ordered way. And of course, if only the world were full of seeing each other perspective, the respect for the division, the delineation, not separateness, but the respect for what it is to not be everything, we wouldn't be on day 389 of a war. Halavai. If the selfhood of individuals could be in the hearts of all people, there never would have been hostages, 101 of whom have been held for 389 days. There would be no need for these prayers, for this necklace. We'd still learn Torah. We'd still have good to do. But I want to bless us, friends, to believe in a world that moves in this direction, that holds the water at bay. It'll never be a permanent firmament. That's a hard one to say. Right, the dome that holds the waters up. It's not going to be permanent. We learn from the Torah that that's not how it exists. That's not the world that we will ever experience. There will always be this work of continuing the work of creation. That's our job as human beings, images of God, one and all. And one day, please, may we be in a world where more of us see the divine in each other's eyes. There would never have been a flood had that been the way that we conducted ourselves. So I bless us to know that we are called to be agents of order, of love, of seeing, to see through God's eyes the possibilities in the world. One day, friends, with all of our work, one day we'll be one step closer. Won't that be nice? Send your hearts with me, friends. Send your hearts to the east. Sing. Kolon baleva penima nefesh Yehudi homia ulefatei mizrach kadima ayin letzion Sophia on lo avda tikvateinu hatikva bat shnot alpayim liot am chofshi be'artzeinu eretz Tzion v'Yerushalayim liot am chofshi be'artzeinu eretz Tzion v'Yerushalayim. Bring them home now. Am Yisrael Chai. See you tomorrow, my friends. Take care.